Iowa, maybe to Madison, Wisconsin, and then straight line
Can you guys hear us now?
On the now can you hear the computer? Good. That's it. You're on.
Okay.
Okay.
Great. Let me just send one more
Oh,
email.
we love technology.
Yes, we do. Oh,
Somebody was telling me today about MS Team. Doesn't City Council use MS Team? It's a whole,
Microsoft Teams, yeah.
whole other world. It's like,
And it changes, that world changes every day, every time they do.
you're at City Council?
Somehow it's always ineffective too.
Yeah, all these new apps and
Oy.
softwares and all that. So ever changing.
All right. We we've got mine.
Is Marshall on? Hey, Marshall, are you there?
Yeah, he was there before.
Yes, I'm here. I'm here,
Nice.
Bruce.
Nice to see you, buddy. Been a long time. I'm landing my plane now, Marshall.
Okay. So we don't have anyone online. Let's see. Is the person that's joining us from the HDFC Coalition, Lori Ann
Yeah,
Christine? Okay, I'm gonna allow her to talk as well.
thank you.
And then we also have two other folks. I'm gonna just allow them to talk. All right, everyone, it is 6:42, so I am going to unofficially start our meeting, even though we don't yet have quorum. Jay is on his way, so I do feel confident that we will have quorum soon. So my name is Indiana Porta, and I am the chair of CB12's Housing and Human Services Committee, which is who is meeting here today. We're gonna do a quick round of introductions, but just to kind of set the table, item number 3 in our agenda, which was a presentation from New York State Senator Jackson's office about 2 pieces of legislation. We're actually going to move that to May, and they're going to present on the 2 bills listed and potentially 1 more. But today we will get a presentation from a coalition that's advocating for one of the bills that we're going to hear about this month. And it's one of the issues that we've all expressed interest in learning more about, HDFCs. So before we pass it along, I just will invite anyone here to introduce themselves, starting with our board members, and then we'll go to those joining us online, including our guest presenters and our 2 community members who are joining us. So introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lisette Tavares. I will be entering my 2nd year on CB12. I'm currently on housing and community services. I'm also on licensing and on outreach, and I'm happy to be here.
Sonia Figueroa Reillo, 2nd year on the board, and I also serve on public safety.
I'm Stefan De Jesus, also coming up on my 2nd year on CB12. Not only am I a member of this committee, I'm also on the Youth and Education Committee and also on the Outreach Committee, and happy to be here.
Wonderful. I'm gonna have Marshall, you wanna introduce yourself since you're a member of the committee?
Certainly. I'm Marshall Vanderpool. I am the public member of the Housing and Human Services Committee. I've served for several years now, formerly the first vice president of Dyckman Resident Association, representing the residents of Dyckman Houses and New York City Housing Authority. And as I usually say, I'm going to land my plane right here.
Love it. Thank you. Bruce.
Hi, I'm Bruce Robertson, a member of CB12, formerly on your committee during the COVID period, led by Chair Marielle Ali. Now I'm a public member on traffic and transportation. Tonight, I'm here representing the HDFC Coalition, a voluntary nonprofit group organized over 30 years ago to support HDFC co-ops in many ways, especially politically. And we actually drafted the legislation that we're here to discuss tonight, sponsored by Senator Jackson, and Assemblyman Al Taylor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I want to introduce also a colleague, Gloria Ann Kirstein, the chair of the coalition's anti-foreclosure committee, and I guess she can do it herself because she's live.
Yes, and
Thank you, Chair.
Lorianne, feel free to introduce
Oh,
yourself.
you can hear me?
Yes.
Okay, hi, I'm Gloria Ann Kirstein. As Bruce said, I also am an HDFC shareholder on West 106th Street, where I've lived for 44 years. We've been an HDFC co-op for 33 years, self-managed. And I've served on the board for 27 of those years. I've been part of the coalition for 10 years to try to protect this very, very important housing stock. I will only say one sentence about HDFC co-ops, about how important they are. HDFCs are the only housing stock in the entire nation where the majority of homeowners are persons of color. So that's something to keep in mind when you're considering anything that has to do with preserving the affordability and the viability of this of HDFC co-ops. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you very much. And to the other two folks that we've got here, you're welcome to introduce yourself now. I see Jaren.
Hi folks, Jaron Burke, he, him pronouns. I'm the senior program manager at We Act for Environmental Justice and also the lead for the Manhattan Clean Energy Hub, which is run by We Act along with lots of other organizations across Manhattan. So happy to be here, and we'll look forward to sharing some more information with you when the time arises. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much. And then we have Tiana.
Good afternoon, everyone. Taina Perez here. I'm with Manny de los Santos office, Assembly member of New York State, District 72. I'm really here to introduce myself. I'm the new Community Affairs Coordinator. I will do my best in trying to attend all community board meetings, or at least the ones that interface more directly with our office, but feel free to always reach out or invite us. Likewise, I'm trying to be intentional and sharing events, so I look forward to collaborating with you all. And then finally, I did want to just briefly announce that the Assembly member is supporting 2 ongoing legislative bill proposals. He's co-sponsoring 2, and there's an additional one that supports the Michelama apartment buildings. I can provide the email of our legislative aide who can provide more of the technical questions. I'm the more community face. And then if she is not able to respond, I can definitely coordinate a meeting with them if that is of interest to folks. So I'll just drop down our emails in the chat. And maybe if it's like on record, that's great too.
That would be great. And if you don't mind just reading it out loud, because sometimes, once these things get posted, the chats and the information shared there isn't available to everyone. And so in the meantime, before we get minutes up and stuff, if you don't mind just spelling it out, that'd be great. Thank you.
Of course, yeah. So my email is Perez, PEREZ, T as in tiger, at nyassembly.gov. And my colleague, her name is Tatiana McGuire. She's a legislative aide. Her email is mcguiret@newyorkassembly.gov. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Are you going to join us for the full meeting
At the General Community Board?
or tonight?
I will do my best. I do have to get going like at 7:15.
Okay, how about this? We can take a quick moment. Do you want to share the bill that you are wanting to put on our radar? And you said that you were not going to like get super into the details, so I feel like I'm happy to give you a couple minutes now. I just don't want to lose you.
No, that's great. Let me just pull up the actual information.
While
so
you
I
do
get it
that, I'm gonna
correct.
have Vice Chair introduce himself, who's from
Great, thank you. I just don't want to butcher anything.
Introduce you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jay Bias. I am the vice chair of the Housing and Human Services Committee. I'm also part of the Youth and Education Committee. Born and raised in Washington Heights, all my life. So thank you all for being here. I'll pass it back to Chair.
Thank you. All right, Tiana.
Yes. Like Okay, so the main one I'd like to highlight is A.8588. It's preserve and strengthen Michelama. And the focus is really on expanding the oversight of owner obligations, financial practices, and significant capital decisions to improve building conditions and preserve affordability. My understanding that it's the main goal is to stabilize aging developments, prevent displacement, and protect long-term housing for working and middle-income families. So that is the main one we wanted you all to be aware of. The other two I can follow up. I don't see the review. But those were just the assembly member was co-sponsoring them, not directly. He didn't directly introduce it.
That's great. So I'm gonna go ahead and invite you guys to come and present at our main meeting
Yeah.
on certainly this bill to preserve and strengthen Michelama, and the other two, if you wouldn't mind just emailing me. And I will reach out to you so that you've got my email, and giving me the other two bill numbers and names so that we can put it on the agenda.
Mhm.
And we look forward to hearing about that. Do you have any sense, and it's okay if you don't, but do you have any sense of what is the goal to move this before the end of session in June? Is this something that, you expect will be picked up like after the budget or next year? Do you have any sense of the timing?
If you want, I'd love to get your email and I can provide that update tomorrow by end of business day because I'm actually we're going to Albany and I'll be with Tatiana and I can get all this info and update. And I was warned that we would be invited to give a follow-up presentation, so then I can coordinate with her again because she's the expert on how she can, show up to present. If I'm able to present in person, that'd be great. If you're open to Zoom, she would be better, but I can also like prep and present on our behalf as well.
We're definitely open to, we'd love to have you both. We're open to Zoom, if that's better, but you guys let us know. So thank
Okay,
you so
great.
much for joining us and thank you for introducing yourself.
Oh, and your email, I'm sorry, can I find that on your website?
I will email you. Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Pleasure
You
being
want
here
the
and
extra copies?
happy
Thank
to
you.
Give
Thanks so
to
much. Yeah.
the chair
Thank
and
you.
maybe she
We'll have
can-
them for next time too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hey, I'm Elizabeth. I turned upcoming journalist for hopefully the Harlem View. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thanks for joining. All right. So, like I said, we are going to hold off on hearing from Senator Jackson's office until May. So today we're going to focus on the HDFC Coalition. They're going to tell us a little bit about their history and a bill that they're advocating for at the state level that addresses some tax issues, especially. So Bruce, I will let you and Gloria take it.
Thank you, Chair Porta. I'm not going to spend a lot of time giving background on the coalition. We've been around for 30 years and involved with a lot of issues over the years, especially politically.
And Bruce, would you mind just giving us a very quick description of what an HDFC is?
Sure. An HDFC is a co-op, with the exception that they get a tax break in exchange for putting a restriction on the income of a purchaser. So the trade-off back in, I guess it started with the private housing, fair housing private law back in 1980, before that actually, in exchange for getting discount on tax, in some cases not paying real estate tax, they kept them affordable by putting income caps. And in the back of the handout, you'll see a sheet of AMI, area median income, which co-ops go by when they determine who is eligible to purchase in the co-op. And they vary anywhere from typically from 100% AMI to 135 or 165, excuse me, for some of the higher priced co-ops.
And who determines what range of affordability is offered or?
The co-op itself.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the beginning, there were HDFCs that were under what was called a regulatory agreement from HPD because they got benefits of renovations and inputs from HPD. And in return, they gave back 40% of the profit of a sale back to HPD. And that expired after a certain amount of time, 10 years, 20 years. And then the switch over to the new regulatory agreement was like in the 1990s, where the owner would keep 70% and 30% went to the city or to the co-op, which is now it's called flip tax. So my building, for example, and we've been there 25 years, the owner keeps the net profit less 15% of the net profit, which goes into the capital reserve for the building, which helps keep that capital improvements up and keeps the building going because it's not cheap to run a building these days. So for all intents and purposes, an HDFC is just like any other co-op, a condo or townhouse or landlord building. You have to make the bones. You have to make it run. So the benefit of the HDFC is that they keep it affordable by lowering the income of the people who come in, and that by having no real estate taxes, they get to keep the maintenance low because the maintenance includes real estate taxes in a regular co-op. So in some cases, a one bedroom could be like $1,000 a month in an HDFC, and it might be $2,000 a month in a regular co-op for one bedroom. But yet you can only sell it to people that are within this category on this AMI sheet. Now, there are other formulas and other exceptions to the rule. Every HDFC co-op is different in a lot of ways because it just kind of grew like Topsy over the years. And Lori will tell you her story in her building. My building is different. Other buildings are different. So it's complicated. What this legislation does is keeps it very simple and says the tax exemption is going to expire in 2029. And all those people who are retired seniors, who've been there forever, who've kept the building going, who saved the neighborhood in the old days when 7,000 buildings were going under, and Ed Koch didn't know what to do with them. They created this program and other programs like Mitchell-Lama to save housing stock in New York City, and it's worked. It's worked with Mitchell-Lamas, it's worked with HDFCs, for the majority of them, 1,200, which
Or $1,200 a month?
no, I'm sorry. 1,200 HDFCs in the city, mostly Manhattan,
Yes.
Bronx, and Brooklyn. And if you look in the packet I gave you, I have a list of the HDFCs in Washington Heights and Inwood. There are a total of 61 buildings amounting to 1,752 units. And if you average that 3 people per apartment, that's like 5,256 persons in Washington Heights. There were over 100,000 residents, shareholders in HDFCs throughout the city, predominantly in northern Manhattan, but a lot in the Bronx and Brooklyn too. For example, in Congressman Espaillat's district, there are 32% of all HDFCs. So up here, we get a lot of HDFCs as an important issue. It's important to him. It's important to Senator Jackson, Al Taylor, Councilman Abreu, Councilman Carmen De La Rosa. And one of the things that I want to point out.
I'm sorry, you said 30%?
Huh?
30% up here?
32.
32%.
And his district goes from like 96th Street up to the Bronx. So it's a big district, but it encompasses Jackson's, which is from 155th up into the Bronx, and Sean Abreu, he goes from 165 down, and it's complicated.
No, it's
Very confusing to people. So what happened was we developed this bill last year, and we've been working through it and trying to get Albany legislators involved. And it's very challenging because half of the Albany legislators don't know what an HDFC is. They're up in Buffalo, and it's an uphill battle. Plus, right now it's the state budget, so we're not getting any traction until probably May or June. But we made a lot of. Is that me?
No, it's me.
I'm sorry. And I guess I'm getting ahead of myself, but what I'm here for is that Community Board 9 back in January passed a resolution supporting this legislation. And I'd like to do the same thing with you folks to adapt this resolution to Community Board 12. And I've written a number of resolutions. I know how to do it. We can do it for you, bring it back through the committee, and hopefully on May 7th, be ready for a vote to get it to the full board at the general meeting 2 weeks after. So that's what I'm gaming for right now, because it's very important that we get community boards on board. And like I said, Sean Abreu, he actually introduced a resolution in City Council in January, Resolution 9, supporting this legislation. And I'll stop there and answer any questions.
That's great. I think I'm happy to open it up to our committee members. The only question that I have is, have you heard of opposition to this bill? Like, who should we kind of?
Yes, there's opposition from HPD.
HPD, do you know
So
why?
under de Blasio, HPD came up with this ingenious, and I say it cynically, proposition to regulate all HDFCs under one type of structure whereby if you sign an agreement with them, they would impose a monitor over the board, a management company supervised by the monitor, impose, the worst thing would be sale price caps, which in fact creates a limited equity co-op, and banks won't lend there because that's what Mitchell Lamas are. Mitchell Lamas are limited equity co-ops that a commercial bank doesn't lend to. When you buy into a Mitchell Lama, you pay cash, 50,000, whatever it is these days, but they're owned by the city. What we are is we're independently owned co-ops that get commercial loans for capital improvements and also for buyers to purchase in the building. And once you put price caps on the sales of like a 1-bedroom for 300, a 2-bedroom for 400, a 3-bedroom for 500, banks say, sorry, we don't want anything to do with you because Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac call that limited equity and they can't get funding they can't resell their loans, basically. Now, there's some private lenders who will get involved, but there are fewer and fewer. And now that banks are realizing that this tax break is going away in 3 years, there are even fewer of them that are willing to invest because it's a higher risk loan. And we're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place right now. And that's why we're here.
Gotcha. And so I have a follow-up.
Is that clear?
Yeah, so I'm gonna make sure that I understand and you tell me if I've got it wrong. So the HDFC model, you mentioned that there's a couple, there's some variation, but generally you've got to meet like certain income restrictions to qualify to
Correct.
purchase a unit. And
Yeah.
then if you sell it, you can get,
As much as you can get on the open market.
but 15% of that profit.
No, not all
Okay.
HDFCs use the same flip tax. There are some that are less, or some that are more, some don't even have it.
Interesting. Okay.
And it varies. That's the variation. There are basic principles that HDFCs operate under, but just like a regular co-op, I'm a real estate broker. Okay, I deal residential real estate uptown, downtown for 20 years, and I work in regular co-ops. I work in condos, townhouses, HDFCs, and even regular co-ops. They're all different. They all have different rules, regulations, but they operate in basic principles. You buy the apartment, you pay the rent, which is maintenance. And when you leave, you pay some kind of flip tax back to the buildings to put into the capital reserve to fix the roof and fix the boiler. And those are the fundamental economics that everybody operates under. And it's challenging.
And so,
Can I jump in?
yeah, absolutely.
Go ahead.
Is that okay?
Well, absolutely.
What I wanted to emphasize was in terms of the birth of HDFCs and what's so important to realize. Back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, there was a big, flight of people out to the suburbs. Landlords were milking all of their rental buildings for rent and not doing repairs or maintenance, not paying their water bill or their property tax. And the buildings were, going downhill incredibly. And the city foreclosed on over 3,000 buildings, foreclosed between 1979 and 1999. 3,000 of these horrible buildings were taken over by the city through foreclosure, and the city thought they could sell these buildings, but the buildings were in the worst shape, in the highest crime areas, including where I live, and with very low income tenants. And the city was suddenly finding itself being the biggest slumlord in the nation, as the New York Times said back in the 80s and 90s, because it didn't have the money to provide fuel and roof replacement and boiler replacement and the like. The city wasn't meant to be a landlord, but the city couldn't sell these buildings because of the shape they were in. So the city decided to get rid of these buildings by thrusting the buildings back on the shoulders of the tenants in place, including myself, back in 1993, saying, we will give you the home ownership. You know, my building's mostly Dominican immigrants. And that is the dream that everyone has, is owning something, especially owning a home in America. So they thrust the buildings back on us, either with no repairs or with very few repairs, and said, here's this terrible building, you take care of it, and we're going to give you a tax break because we know you're going to have a lot of repairs to do, and you're going to have to keep the building alive, even though the landlord neglected it for 30 and 40 years. So why I'm talking about this is that these buildings still are problems. My building was built in 1885, old law tenement, 5-story walk up, and we are still, it's like landmines are inside these buildings waiting to happen in terms of physical plant. So we need this tax break because all of our maintenance is going into keeping these buildings in shape, and now there are more and more regulations to do so. And we only own one building apiece. Each HDFC co-op, we only own the one building. We're not like a big landlord that has a major portfolio and deep pockets. Also, the tax break helps us keep the maintenance low. So even while the insurance fees have gone up 300% and the like, we can keep our maintenance low. Half of all HDFCs, by the way, are self-managed, including my own, just to save money. And believe me, that is a bit of a headache. Never mind being on a co-op board, which is a thankless task. But we're also like managing the buildings, and all the burden goes on us. So the other thing I would like you to understand is most HDFCs have very low turnover. We were talking about sale prices and the like. There are income restrictions, but most HDFCs are naturally occurring retirement communities. We call them NORCs. In my building, I still have 10 of the original shareholders from the 1980s, that includes me. 10 out of 15 are still here in place. We're aging in place because we've been able to keep the place affordable by self-management and by the tax break that we want to continue beyond 2029. If the tax break does not continue, the maintenance of my building will increase by $450 per unit. It would be more than a 100% increase in the maintenance. And the people in my building would have to move out of the building if we didn't have the break.
What percentage?
It would go up.
What in your building? It would double basically.
It would double.
Yeah.
I might have used the wrong percentage, but it would double.
It varies with the appraised real estate value.
Okay.
Depending upon the co-op. And here we go again. Everybody's got a different position, but essentially it's going to hurt a lot of the seniors and a lot of people who've invested years, and especially generational wealth from the seniors to the younger family members who can inherit the apartment. And that's in our bill, and saying, you know, you can't place restrictions on that. So thank you, Gloria. Was there anything else you wanted to
Yes,
finish?
I want just exactly what you said. When the city determines the value of your building, they clump you in with your surrounding neighborhood. I'm on West 106th Street. My Irish grandmother came here in 1914 when this was it's always been an immigrant area, Kelly's and the Cohens, and now I'm here. But I have to compete with Central Park West, which has multi-million-dollar condos and co-ops for sale. We have co-ops and condos, Columbia University on 110th Street, and we have new construction on Broadway and 103 and 107 and 110. And the Department of Finance clumps all that together as well as private rental buildings in the area where the rents are $3,000, $4,000 for one studio. The maintenance in my building, the average is $736 per apartment. Okay, because we're self-managed, because we get the tax break, and that means that the poorer elderly can stay here. But when the city wants to determine our market value, they clump us in with everybody else. They don't make an aside for HDFCs. So my market value back in 2009 was $448,000 for my building, 15 units, old law tenement, 5-story walk up. Now my building is worth $1.3 million. I don't know where my doorman is or my rooftop terrace or anything, you know, but that's because we're in with everybody else. So the tax break protects us from being clumped in with the wealthier buildings in our area, and that's the same for HDFCs throughout the city.
Thank you, Gloria. One other factor is that regular co-ops and condos get a 16 to 28% tax break that HDFCs don't get. So they get that tax break. We don't get that. We get a bigger tax break, but we also keep the income low to make it all affordable. Is that clear?
Yes, I'm happy to open it up.
I do have a clarifying question where I'm a little confused.
Okay.
So you have a price cap where you can sell?
No, we don't have.
So you can
but-
sell at this, let's say if you wanna sell, you can compete, like she said, the Central Park West.
But you're not going to get that there's a market value. As a broker, your apartment is only worth what?
So let's say my appraised market value comes in at $400,000.
Okay,
I can sell at $400,000 and
Yes.
pay and keep the 70% and keep,
or whatever the formula is, or keep,
Right.
right, correct. Now, under the de Blasio rule, which has been carried forward, Adams didn't do so much, but now we're not sure what's going to happen again. But you have an HPD are pushing this and saying, if you need money to fix your roof, we'll give you a cheap loan. But sign this regulatory agreement where you put price caps on all the sales of your apartments and you have to put them into HPD Connect, which is a total morass, it's a total quagmire of, confusing to buyers before you put it on the open market. And we're going to say what you can get for it. So that takes away your right to get the value that you put it into the apartment over the years.
That's what I wanted to clarify.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So we're against sale price caps. We believe in capitalism because these people save neighborhoods. I'm only there 25 years in my building. I didn't save the neighborhood, but people before me who were there 40 and 50 years, you should hear the stories. And Gloria can tell you too. And people know up here, they know the stories up here. Because they lived through it, like Jay.
And HPD is doing that just like.
Because they want to make it easier on themselves, because
I will just, so one of the things I had heard is that their motivation, at least their stated motivation, was that they wanted to keep the units affordable.
Okay, so we did a study. We found out that we compared the sales of HDFC units, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom, 4 bedroom, it's mentioned in here, over the past 5 years are 61% cheaper, less expensive than comparable market rate co-ops. So that proves our point. HDFC co-ops, like Lori said, they don't sell that often, but when they do sell, they're less expensive for buyers. They're less expensive for the sellers who are satisfied in making what they make versus regular co-ops who the rich people buy.
And there's, even if they're not in the HPD program, they're still bound by income caps.
And that's hard because of loan to
Yes.
value, like if I'm.
Exactly. Yeah, loan to value. So one of the conditions of our bill is that we would keep the income cap and register every year, every sale that's made, and show to HPD that we kept the income cap intact for that particular purchase. And if somebody went over or, abused the privilege, then they would be penalized. And that's all written down here in our summary.
Any other questions?
I have a question about some language in the reso that the CV9 passed.
Yeah.
In the fourth whereas, it says that the initial time limited regulatory restrictions that apply to HDFCs have long expired. Would you clarify or reiterate what those initial restrictions were?
Which one?
Bruce, I can speak to some of it.
Go ahead, you do.
Oh, okay. All right. So, in the decades of the 1980s and 1990s, when 965 of the 1,200 HDFC co-ops were incorporated, as I said, either not repaired or under repaired, we had to sign a 25-year agreement that in any sale, 40% of the sale profit went to the city. We couldn't even take our flip tax out of that. And then the remaining 60% was divided between the seller and the co-op. My little co-op, we had 3 sales, and we cut checks worth over $250,000 that went to the city, and we badly needed at least the flip tax portion of that $250,000 that went. Because guess what? 20 years after incorporation, the waste pipes in our building that were over 100 years old collapsed. 1/3 of the waste pipes were gone, and the city never fixed that while they owned our building for 20 years. While they were the landlord, they did not fix the building up that the landlord had neglected for decades previous to the foreclosure. So that's one of the regulatory agreements that were in place, unfortunately, for it was 365 HDFCs that got caught in that. As Bruce said, there's more than one regulatory agreement, but the regulatory agreements that the city struck with us at the point of our conversion in the 80s and 90s was really the kiss of death for many of us. As a result, in the last round of foreclosures back in 2018, we lost 31 HDFCs, 683 homeowners in Brooklyn, Bronx, and Manhattan lost their HDFC home ownership because of regulatory agreements such as what the city demanded back then and what they're demanding now. And we couldn't keep our buildings financially alive because of that. I hope I haven't confused you, and I hope I partly answered your question about, but the older regulatory agreements have expired. Thank goodness now our entire flip tax can be applied to the wholesale profit and not have to chop it up and give it back to the city when we've already been giving back to the city, having taken these horrible buildings off their hands.
I suppose now that those restrictions or those agreements are over, some HDFCs are considering going, market rate.
No.
No?
Why would they?
No. I mean, I'm in an
Well,
old tenement. I can't go. No millionaire is going to come into my
It's
building.
expensive to disincorporate from an HDFC would cost you over $100,000 or more.
Yeah.
You got to reincorporate as a market rate, and then you're going to pay more in maintenance than you paid before. Plus, you're paying 7% for commercial loans for capital improvements to fix up the building in order to get DOB to approve all the problems in the buildings and all the fines and penalties that we have to go through. Local law 97, local law 11, all this stuff. It's challenging. So this is a simple solution, one of the simple solutions to keep us going beyond 2029, because it's getting to the point now we're at a cliff. And, everybody's saying, well, I'm just going to have to sell and go to North Carolina. We don't want that.
So if this bill gets passed, then it would alleviate that concern?
That concern, yeah. There are other concerns.
Okay.
We don't know what Mamdani's doing with affordable housing right now.
Can those concerns, is this a good time to be addressed, for those concerns to be addressed? The other concerns that you may have?
No, this is not what this is about. This is simple. This is a basic one solution to a complex problem. We don't know what's going to confront us, what he's got on his plate, what HPD is going to do. It's a confusing time.
Right.
We're just trying to get this passed, and it's taken longer than we thought because Albany is so involved with. So 2026 is another election year.
Right.
Last year was an election year. This year, we're figuring this will get passed in 2027. We'd like to have it passed sooner. And the route we may end up going is through city council, because we're getting more support from city council members because they understand what HDFCs are and they see the urgency for doing it, and they can adjust the tax base for a particular class of buildings easier than Albany can get through all their Michigas.
And will this bill last another 25 years?
We hope to make it permanent. It should have been permanent to begin with, but nothing's permanent in politics, apparently.
I want to address one more question that was raised by a member of the board here. When they asked, why does HPD, well, we haven't heard directly from HPD that they oppose the bill, but, the regulatory agreement that they're promoting does oppose the bill in its essence. When it was said that HPD wants to keep the units affordable, that's actually not what HPD's goal is. HPD wants to show on paper that the sale prices are such that HDFCs will be considered affordable to future generations that want to buy into the co-op. But what HPD ignores is the fact that we need robust sale prices, albeit as Bruce said, we're like 61% of the market rate for HDFCs that do sell units. We need robust sales because our flip tax is the only source of income we have besides maintenance. And we want to keep the maintenance affordable. And we keep telling HPD, you should be looking at keeping HDFCs affordable for the shareholders in place. Those of us who already live here and took these buildings off your hands and made these buildings viable. And the only way to do that is to plump up an income stream of the flip tax for a robust sale price so that we can keep the maintenance manageable and low. So that's what I wanted to clarify, and I hope I did clarify. Between HPD wants a numbers game. They want to be able to say, all HDFCs, all 1,200 co-ops have sale prices. We don't care if it's hard for you to get a mortgage to purchase into it with the sale prices, but we can then move all HDFCs, all 1,200 of the HDFCs over to the affordable housing column. Look at us, we're heroes. And meanwhile, that doesn't help the people already in place trying to struggle with keeping the maintenance manageable.
They'd like one size fits all formula for all HDFCs to keep their lives simpler, and that's not the way it works.
Got it. And one other question that I had is, you mentioned that a lot of the residents in HDFCs are older, that some of them are naturally occurring retirement communities.
Yes.
What are the rules about like inheritance? Does the person that they pass their unit along to also need to meet certain income requirements?
They do. Yeah, we can
Well,
both address that, Bruce, but
the bill says no, but it depends upon the rules. You know, co-ops run themselves. If a co-op board says we want to implement a requirement that the son or daughter who is inheriting the parents' co-op meets certain income requirements just so they're financially stable, that's up to the co-op board. That's a New York State law that a board, you know, can run itself, and you can't intervene. For years, legislators have been trying to get co-op boards to divulge why they turn people down, you know, in a sale, and it's just never gotten passed. You can't pierce that corporate veil of a corporate, and a co-op board is a corporate, you know, entity. So, Gloria, go ahead if I misspoke.
No, you didn't. What I'd like to point out, in my own building, of the 10, what I call the original shareholders, 10 out of 15 that are still here, in 4 cases, they have passed on, and their children were already living in the apartment. So they willed their shares to the children, who are now adults, by the way, to those. And so I've had a multi-generational change. I've been here 44 years, as I said, a multi-generational change from original shareholder to their children, being able to afford to live in Manhattan. I'm now the Upper West Side, West 106, and now we were Crack Alley back, 30 years ago, but now we're a very desirable neighborhood, as many HDFC neighborhoods now are. And I'm proud of the fact that I've seen a generational change, and I've seen the children that came here when they were 3 and 6 years old from DR. They now have jumped into middle class because their parents could afford to stay in Manhattan. They went to Lehman College, they went to Baruch. Their parents are not college educated, and their kids now are, moderate middle income, not only wage earners, but they're homeowners in Manhattan. It's just amazing. It took my Irish family 2 generations to get into the middle class, of which I'm, an example. But here I've seen in this building, there's just one. So yes, the generational transfer has happened in multiple HDFCs, not just in mine, and it's a really proud thing to see.
But they don't need to meet income caps. It depends on the building.
Actually, as Bruce said, it depends upon the co-op. They can have certain rules. In my co-op, if you are a child that you've lived in the co-op and grown up in it, we don't want to penalize the child for making an improvement in their life. That their parent was a cook in a school, but this child got her bachelor's at Lehman, and now she's a manager in a bank. I can assure you, though, that I'm thinking now of all the kids, they're not kids anymore, in my building, no one's rich, okay? no one's making over 100,000 or something like that, but their parents were making 26,000 and now maybe they're making 60,000. And so for us, that works.
But to add to that, because I do sales in estates, and as a child, you're entitled to inherit the shares. And you can apply to live in the building, go through an application, whatever the process is, or you can sell the shares, sell the apartment, and inherit the money. Because I'm doing that right now with a person who passed away in our building. The family lives in Alabama. They don't want to live in Manhattan. And we're selling the apartment, and the sister will inherit the money, and everybody's happy. So it varies a lot.
Yeah.
But the point of the bill is to not discriminate against children who are inheriting an estate, to not allow them to move into the apartment and own the apartment. We want to promote that fully.
Are they allowed to sublet the apartment?
That's up to the co-op again. So every building has sublet rules. My building has, 3 out of 5 years. You can do that. But they could probably sublet it according to the rules of that co-op.
However, we have the primary residency requirement.
You do, yeah.
No, it's a state law. It's the private housing finance law requires that HDFC shareholders regard that apartment as their primary residence.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So that has to be your primary residence, albeit
they
they do allow for reasonable subletting, a year and a half, like in one HDFC down the block, there's a teacher who got a sabbatical to take architecture courses in Paris. So of course his co-op, his HDFC, allowed him to sublet his apartment for the year that he was on his sabbatical, in Paris. So, or if someone had a parent that they had to take care of, out of state, who is elderly and incapacitated, and you needed the year and a half. So yes, but to have a continuous sublet the way they do in condos, no, that's not allowed. It has to be your primary residence.
Yeah, that's a condition of owning an HDFC. It's your primary residence.
Right.
You have given me a crash course on this.
No, you
Yes,
have been
thank you so much.
We could go on for a few more hours.
517 West 184th Street.
What's that?
Wait, you and I need to speak that.
Okay. Like I said, I've been doing this for 20 years and every day it gets more complicated. There's all new rules, it's just life. And now it's especially confusing because we don't know what the mayor is going to be doing with all this stuff and what his position is on this. I think he's favorable towards HDFCs and Mitchell-Lamas. I mean, we just heard from about a Mitchell-Lama bill that we were aware of, because some of them were having problems. There was a Mitchell-Lama downtown, a big one. Maybe Gloria, you can correct me, but they couldn't borrow money to fix the building. So they basically opted out of Mitchell-Lama, became an HDFC and borrowed $35 million to fix up the building. See, when you're an HDFC, you can go to the commercial market and get funding for capital improvements. When you're a Mitchell-Lama, you're owned by the city and you can only get funding through the city. It's controlled, you're controlled. We HDFCs are not owned by the city. We are just like any other private property.
Super interesting.
So I lived down the block from 517 West 184th Street, and I remember when they became a co-op, I don't know, like 35 years ago.
Uh-huh.
And I had no knowledge in regards to how they were able to do that. 517.
Is that on our list?
Yeah, I see it up.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I think it's right of fact.
Are you number 183?
Do you have a sense, and it's okay if you don't.
I don't want to take up all your time.
No, yeah, I appreciate it. So I think Jay may have some questions. I will hold on mine. Jay, do you have questions?
I was just trying to understand how it affects the sort of lower income buildings on the, because the way they are assessing is they take the market value and then they do a percentage of that for the assessment. But when you, like, why don't they, like, unless it's a deteriorating building.
Well, that's part of the appraisal, it says value.
So out of all the HDFCs, how many are actually below
I don't
the
know.
cap?
Well, the cap is,
Of what?
The tax benefit that they're.
Some HDFCs, that's good, and Gloria can speak to this too. Some HDFCs don't get a tax break because their assessed value is too low. And we're saying if they don't get a tax break, we want to give them a tax break up to 200% of the regular rate for that area. And that's where like in the Bronx, for example, we've been to some of them where they're thriving, and they pay taxes. And we say, well, how come you don't get a tax break? Oh, we didn't know we were supposed to get a tax break. So, right, Glory?
Right, there's there's been so little guidance and information and tutoring of HDFCs. You know, when suddenly you're a renter and then your building's foreclosed, like all our buildings, and then all of a sudden you're an owner. And you don't have a master's in business administration or whatever, and you have a very poor physical plan. So it's just been very, very poor. Tell me the question again. I'm sorry, sometimes I go off the track.
I was just asking, I guess I wanted a sense of how many actual HDFCs are not receiving the tax benefit.
Okay. I don't know the number.
We don't know.
It's more in the Bronx. I agree with Bruce about that. And the point is, as Bruce said, our bill is unique in that we want to assure that all HDFCs across the board do get some tax break, whereas the percentage right now don't. But I don't know the number.
Right.
We'd have to go one by one, 1,200 HDFCs, and look up their tax bill on Department of Finance.
And you can.
Do you want to help us do that? It's a good question.
Well, you're the one pushing the bill, so I figure. I mean, the other question I have is how much would it cost the city to do your bill? Because now
it's the same.
It's a loss in revenue.
But they have the same loss now. It's not a new loss. It's the same loss.
But if you're saying you're going to give more tax breaks
for the ones that don't get it.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking
I'm not sure how much that is. Good question. Yeah. That's a very good question.
And then the other question would be if you've actually spoken to the chair of the committee.
Which committee?
The bill goes through the housing committee.
Well, in Albany, yes, we've spoken to Brian Kavanaugh. We've spoken to Linda Rosenthal. She's in the assembly. We've spoken to actually, Gloria's working with Karina Sanchez on a TPT bill. So we're pretty well connected through Jackson's office and Taylor's office and a whole bunch of other people, Cordell Clare. We're working the crowd. You know, it's not easy because there's a lot of noise in the environment now politically. And this is not the most urgent thing, but to us it is very important. So we're pushing. But we're up at an election year. When you turn on the TV, nobody's talking about HDFC bill. They're talking about the midterms in Washington, right?
And let me just say, you know, if we don't get the continuation of the tax break and all of a sudden our maintenance bill goes up, you know, 100% more, 200% more, you're going to have people facing eviction. This will be more of a financial disadvantage and problem for the city, both humanely, all right, as well as financially. But that's a good question, and I don't know if we can,
we'll look into that. Power. That's a good question. I like that.
Yeah. I agree.
That's why HPD doesn't. If you're saying you don't know,
I don't think it's
to support or oppose.
No, 90% or more of the HDFCs are functioning well.
Yeah.
Is it perfect? No building functions well. Look at all the landlords. There are 50,000 rent stabilized units that are empty because landlords can't afford to upgrade them according to the 2019 rent laws. That's a whole other problem. We won't even get into.
Yeah.
You know, but it's real. It's a real problem. Landlords can't spend more than a certain amount to fix up these units that are empty. And this is Mamdani's problem right now.
Yeah. I mean, I would just urge you to figure out what that cost is.
We'll work on it. Yeah, it's hard to say because HPD is not forthcoming with information. And we're a small group. There's like 5 of us on this policy committee and we're not funded. We're doing it voluntarily and you know the drill.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate the question though.
Well, we really appreciate your time, both of you. And are you?
Yeah.
Everybody okay?
Really?
Porter, are you okay?
One question.
Oh, sorry.
Bruce, out of the 61 units, there's only 5 members working on the policy?
It's a small group. We have a lot of people out in the field who are shareholders in buildings, but again, they're volunteering. And yeah, there's just a handful of us working with Senator Jackson and Taylor. So Jackson's chief of staff, Joanna Garcia, will be here next month. We work with her. We work with his policy director, Sam Stein, who's now up in Albany. We work with Al Taylor's people. So we're the ones who came up with this whole idea, and we sold it to Jackson and Taylor 2 years ago, and it took us a while to get it together, and we made some modifications. And here we are now trying to promote it. We're basically lobbyists for free because we're doing this out of the goodwill and protecting ourselves because we're HDFC homeowners. And there are
I think
people who are
we have-
less able to afford not this implications of this than some of us.
We have a website, savehdfcs.org. I'll
Yeah, they
say it
have
again, savehdfcs.org. We have a website and we have a Gmail list of about 900 HDFCs are on our Gmail list. And we get a lot of praise, via emails and the like from people. And we've held meetings and seminars about this. Again, all volunteer. And we get a lot of praise for it. But HDFC shareholders are very busy people, and a lot of them are very, very old and not well. And so it boils down to, a few who are willing to dedicate almost full time to this effort. And I'm head of the anti-foreclosure committee. And that was a whole other effort. We saved 18 HDFCs from foreclosure in 2018. As I said, we lost 31. But, it's very, very hard to do this kind of work. But this is our home, and we're dedicated to this housing stock that we think is just so darn unique. And I'm proud of HDFCs. If you go down a block on the Lower East Side or East Harlem or Hell's Kitchen, you'll see a whole row of crummy rental buildings. And then you'll see in the middle of the block a building that's got, flower boxes and a flagstone stoop and freshly painted, window frames. And that'll be the HDFC. Why? Because there's pride of home ownership. And I am so proud of being an HDFC shareholder. And I don't think that the city is doing what it should to help support us. So we're relying on people like yourselves who are also volunteers. And can I thank you for that? Because that's not fun to spend a whole evening away from home. We're depending on people like yourselves who are also dedicated, still public servants in your own way, to understand what we're trying to do to save this housing stock and make it, financially viable for future generations.
And I'll just leave with one message from one of our cohorts who lives in the Lower East Side, the Alphabet City, Lisa Ramasi. She's part of the coalition down there. Been there 30, 40 years. She bought her HDFC. She tells stories about how she used to have to go out and take a shower under the fire hydrant because there was no water in the building. The electricity didn't work. There was no sanitation pickup. The roofs leaked and everything. And we hear stories like that a lot. And these are people that toughed it out during the old days, the 70s and 80s, when you didn't want to be in New York, but these people stayed. And, they toughed through it. So now they deserve a break. And on that note,
Thank you.
you'll have a great night and thank you.
Much.
And I hope to see you in May.
Yes, absolutely. We really, really appreciate
We'll be in
it.
touch.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And we're asking for you to allow us to submit the resolution and to support this, just like CB9 did, and I'll be in touch with you.
Thank you. No, we really appreciate it. We'll see you next
Thank you.
month.
Okay,
Thank you, everybody.
okay.
And thank you, yes.
Thank you.
Lori, thank you.
Okay, bye.
Is there anything that anyone wants to commit to researching so that we can talk about next month, or any questions that next month when we got the bill sponsors here, you can ask them. Like, I made a list. So what some of my questions are, Jay's question I wrote down. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Have a good night.
I'll actually see you at the general meeting next week. It's
Perfect.
a resolution for the business development committee about the bid. I'm on the bid committee.
Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Good night.
Good night. So one of the follow-up questions is, how much would the bill cost the city? Tied to that,
To his point, it's not it's a loss in revenue because you're giving more of a tax break. So they gotta make that up somehow, right? I mean, I would suggest to them to like, if they can find that number. And then just say, then just do the assessments of like how much would it cost to actually repair these buildings and take out a zero interest loan. Add that number and you tell the city like, this is how much in loans these buildings would have to take out. Just to pay for all the repairs. This is the tax break they're asking for. And if it's extremely lower, it's more appealing.
Mhm.
That's a good take on it.
I mean, I honestly, one of the things I can commit to is looking to see what community groups are involved in the debate and kind of where they land on this, because when I had initially started to read about HDFCs, I was under the impression, right, that at least some groups do support the cap on how much you can resell a unit for. Which would be, I guess, this transition to NYC Connect and adding like a permanent price cap. So I have heard that like there are some groups who support that and do think that it will keep the units affordable. So I would love to like hear from them. So I'm gonna try and do a little bit of research about that. Do you know offhand? Anybody?
I don't know offhand, I can ask around.
Yeah, I would appreciate that. Were there any other like big questions that we want to make sure we put on the radar of folks coming to present next month?
There's one more question that I had, and I think I got an answer, but like who would this benefit the most? Are current shareholders or future shareholders?
I think current, but I think it's a fair question. Yeah. What do you guys think?
I think both.
Both, yeah.
So is that what he was saying, that like, even though they're not capped, the price is not capped, they're still selling at much lower rates compared to other units in the area?
Wasn't that the 61% that you mentioned?
Well, I mean, like, depends how bad the building is, right?
No, but can you check if we have people who know?
Yes, so I don't see any comments. We've got Jaren, so I can certainly pivot to that, but I am going to call the meeting to order. Because I didn't want to interrupt, but you got here at 6:45, right, Jay?
Yeah.
So I will retroactively call it to order at 6:45. Okay, so I would say just as you have questions, feel free to email them to Jay and I, and we can kind of add them to our discussion topics for next week. Jaren, thank you so much for your patience and thank you for joining us. The floor is all yours to tell us what it is you're here to talk about.
Perfect. Thank you. And thank you for having me and allowing me to join and speak. It sounds like I picked the perfect night hearing about what's going on with the HDFC co-ops, the policy work that they're trying to move forward. So I mentioned earlier.
Sorry, can you say that one more time?
Oh, yeah, sorry. I just was acknowledging that I picked a perfect night to be joining you all, hearing that whole conversation about what's going on with HDFC co-ops. One of the major groups that we serve as the Manhattan Clean Energy Hub is HDFC co-ops and other buildings, affordable housing buildings. So thanks for allowing me to speak. Like I said earlier, my name's Jaren Burke. I'm the senior program manager leading the Manhattan Clean Energy Hub. We're one of 12 regional clean energy hubs across the state, and we serve Manhattan. And our whole purpose is to help ensure that folks living in disadvantaged communities aren't left behind in the energy transition, that they are able to access incentives, resources, programs to make energy efficiency upgrades to their buildings, get access to green jobs, help lower their energy bills. And we're representing a Northern Manhattan-based organization. We act for environmental justice, so we're the lead for the Manhattan Clean Energy Hub. So we do a lot of work to connect with renters, with property owners, with folks who are representing small businesses. So I'm here to just raise awareness of us as a resource to folks in the community. We do serve folks living in Inwood and Washington Heights, anyone who's a resident of Manhattan. And one of the things I wanted to promote to folks and to share with you all tonight is we have one of the touch points for us to connect with folks in Manhattan is to invite them to what are called our Energy Smart workshops. Basically, it's a way for folks to help understand what are some of the energy efficiency challenges in their building that they might be seeing. And everyone that participates in the workshop leaves with these home energy kits that have about $100 worth of equipment to go home and install them. They have window insulation kits, weather stripping, LED light bulbs, things like that that they can implement at home DIY to make some immediate measurable improvements in their energy efficiency. But beyond that, we have energy advisors who help folks understand what programs they might be eligible for, things like community solar, things like the home energy assistance program, LIHEAP, and actually one of those programs I just mentioned, the home energy assistance program, actually just opened up availability for their cooling assistance program. So we're doing a lot of work right now to raise awareness about that for folks who are low and moderate income, who can get access to cooling benefits. So that's if they need to get an air conditioner or a fan, things like that. So we're here as a resource to the community, just trying to build that awareness. So I can share with you, but probably over email if that's easiest, the flyer for our upcoming Energy Smart workshop that's coming up on April 28th, very soon. It's on Zoom, 6:30 to 8 p.m. It's a great touch point for folks to get connected with us. And then if they're interested in accessing any programs they might be eligible for or learning more about them, that's a great way kind of into the door to learn about those things. But I'll leave it there at that. I appreciate you all making time for me to speak. We're here as a resource for folks. So any information that we can share with community members to help them, lower their energy bill, get access to green jobs, and help make their homes and their buildings more efficient. We're here to help do that. So I'll make sure I share any flyers and information with you, but happy to also answer any questions that you all have about what we do, how we do it, or anything like that.
Quickly, can you share the date again of the workshop?
Yes, it's April 28th. It's a Tuesday, and it'll be from 6:30 to 8 p.m. on Zoom. And I'll make sure to email a flyer over to you all so you have access to that as well.
Great.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I do have a couple of questions. You said you're in northern Manhattan. Where exactly?
Yes, our office, so We Act for Environmental Justice, we're based 152nd in Amsterdam, but we serve folks all across Manhattan. Anyone who's a resident of Manhattan can access the resources and incentives. There are other clean energy hubs in other parts, in other boroughs, but we represent Manhattan.
Okay, great. And then can you just repeat? I'm so sorry. I was trying to take notes, but in addition to the energy workshops, you mentioned like some of the other issues that you guys tackle or the other services. Would you mind just running through that one more time, please?
Yeah, it's a long list, so I'm just trying to give some examples. So we have our workshops. We also do energy advising, where anyone who comes to us and is interested in lowering their energy bill or making upgrades to their building, we can help them identify programs and resources that they're eligible for, and then helping them start the application process and actually get signed up for those programs. There's NYSERDA, state programs that are available. There's resources that are available through the utility. So we help them navigate that process. And then we also help connect folks to workforce training, especially things that would set them up for green jobs like solar, OSHA, SST, solar training, getting them connected to the actual training, and then once they've completed training, helping them get access to jobs in the field too. So doing advising for folks that are navigating that process.
Great. Thank you so much.
I got a question. Do renters qualify for any of these programs that exist?
They do. They do. Some of them are more limited. A lot of the programs that exist are tailored towards property owners, but we do have programs like community solar that anyone who's a Con Ed customer can take advantage of, and folks that are low and moderate income can get up to 20% discount on their utility bill if they're eligible. For folks that aren't income eligible, they can still sign up and get up to 10%. So there's that. Anyone who participates in our workshop, even as renters, can get the home energy kit, which has those materials to make some of those improvements. And there are some other programs. Those are the some of the major resources, but a big focus that we have right now is really trying to reach conveniently HDFC co-ops, because they're kind of in that place of being able to make some of those decisions about their buildings, and also are, you know, in that low to moderate income range. So
Are
Do you know Bruce?
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know Bruce?
Not yet, actually. I've been trying to build a connection with the HDFC co-op. We work really closely with other organizations like ANHD and UHAB. So actually, when I've been meaning to build that connection, so it was convenient that they were here today. So
What was the second organization?
ANHD, yeah.
And the second one?
UHAB. I always forget the acronym. It's they work specifically with HDFC co-ops. I can tell you right now. Give me 2 seconds. I'm on their website. Organizations love to just go by their acronym. So it is where is that? Urban Homesteading Assistance Board. They're also based in Manhattan. They work really closely with HDFC co-ops around issues of.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for putting that on our radar. Do you think that WEAC will take a position on the legislation that we heard about relating to HDFCs? And it's okay. I realize you may not know, but do you happen to know? Is that something that you guys would take a position on?
That's a good question. It's not on my radar. I don't work on the policy team, but I would be surprised if our policy team didn't take a stance on it, since we do work in coalition with a lot of housing organizations. I don't know what that stance is yet, but I am sure our policy team will have a stance on it at some point. I'd have to ask them though.
Well, that's great. I mean, we invite you to let us know if and when, you know, you do take a position. Does anybody else have other questions?
I have a question. When you mentioned solar, I don't know, I'm not so familiar with if there's a new program. I think there's a pilot program that they're trying to even include renters, and it's to provide solar panels, which will help us, you know, as far as getting lower electricity costs and all that. Is this somehow, are you familiar with this at all? Well, to start with that, like, have you heard that? I don't know if it's implemented or if it's new, but I think it's something that the city has already in the works.
I'm not sure. I'm not familiar with the specific pilot that you're referring to. I know the city has piloted a lot of different approaches to increasing access to solar for renters. The program I mentioned before, Community Solar, is one of the major pathways for a lot of renters to access the benefits of solar. So we're actually working really closely with Solar One, another organization right now. They have some big community solar projects coming online that anyone in the Con Edison utility, anyone who's a Con Ed customer, can take advantage of. It's geared more towards low and moderate income households, so folks that are within those income eligibility ranges, and they could qualify for up to 20% off their utility bill. So that's one of the biggest program that exists out there right now for renters. But I know there are some pilots out there that have tried other approaches, but I don't know if you could speak more about the particular pilot project that you had in mind.
Thank you so much. I saw something recently, but I'm not sure if it's implemented. I wanted to make sure you weren't there. Thank you.
Any other questions? Any questions? Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. We invite you to come back. If there are other initiatives you would like to update us about, if there's anything that we can support. Like I mentioned earlier, we're really looking for ways, you know, certainly like we pass resolutions and we can bring awareness to issues, but to the extent that, you know, you're looking for, you know, other like advocacy points, or you've got events coming up, including advocacy events, please let us know. The only last question that I have is, do you guys have the ability to serve clients who speak languages other than English?
Yes, we have full translation services available for Spanish. We're in the process of increasing our language access for folks that speak Mandarin and Cantonese. But as of right now, English and Spanish for all services.
Great. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We really, really appreciate it.
And thank you for making time for me to be here. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Checking, there's nobody in the chat. Okay, any thoughts on that? Does anybody have experience with?
These Con Ed bills are crazy.
Yeah.
And they're
Yeah.
going up too.
Yeah.
It's insane.
It goes up every year for me. I'm like, I swear I've used less energy because of the bill.
I order Uber Eats to save on that on electricity.
Oh my God. I like that, okay.
We should have a reso to turn Times Square off once a week or something.
I would support that. Oh my gosh, okay. I'm actually gonna skip a little bit while we're kind of fresh, but is there anything else about WeAct that folks are interested in following up on, or any questions, anything like that?
Just getting the information that you were sharing.
Yeah, okay. The flyer for the event. right?
Yeah,
April
yeah.
28th, okay.
So we could maybe have them put it in the newsletter.
Yeah. So. Follow up with that.
Yeah. It's soon.
Mhm.
Next week.
5 days, 12 days.
Turn around the corner.
Sorry, if I don't write it in the moment, it will slip. Okay, so I actually, like I said, I'm gonna skip and I want to do the announcement and administrative matters. We have had a lot of brainstorming sessions and planning sessions, and I'm really excited about it, but I also need a little bit of help. So I wanted to talk about doing like a rotation for meeting minutes. And then two, to get a sense of whether there's interest, and hopefully there is, in taking leadership, right, on who we invite or what topics we talk about at upcoming meetings. I would say identifying community organizations that you think would be helpful to come in, or identifying legislation at the city, state, or federal level that you think it would be helpful to learn about, to try and pass a reso about, and just open it up for feedback about that. Also, one other thing, if there are like updates, a news story or an event, like I just want to encourage you guys to please feel free to like message the group. It doesn't have to come through me. Like some of my other committees, right, they're certainly like feel free to just share stuff. And so I encourage you guys to do that.
Sure.
Any thoughts on, so next month we've got, again, a conversation about Senator Jackson's bills and then this resolution. I don't know if there's any other like issues that folks want to try and address at that point. The only other thing on the agenda for next month that I have is the rent guidelines board. They, like, does anybody have interest in collaborating on a resolution about that? Is that something that we would like to submit a resolution for? The good news is that we have others from years past that we can build on. But does anybody want to take the lead?
Yes, but now they're holding, I think today was the last one.
It's scheduled, but I think that they're gonna have more.
So it's a good time, maybe.
Yeah.
And this is the rent freeze reso that we've previously.
Mhm.
Yeah, in May's, at some point between now and May's when they do a preliminary. Sort of like, this is what the board is thinking of doing. Right. In June, they start doing actual hearings in neighborhoods. To see how people feel about that proposal. And then they land on a number in some way. Yeah.
Here's hoping Mom Donnie keeps his promise. And freezes the rent. Um,
But I think
Yeah,
it's a good opportunity and timing.
mhm. I'm happy to take part
Yeah.
of that. Yeah, and I can wait to hear what the Rent Guidelines Board says and then I'll reference that,
Great.
whereas clause.
Thank you.
As far as the minutes, is it possible for me to take the minutes off of, let's say, our YouTube?
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
I feel like when I'm present, I need to be present and.
Yes, no, me too.
so we get the recording. And now they're actually gonna send us the script.
Okay, then
We
So
didn't have
if
that
people
before.
were like organizing, or- yeah.
Sending the script right now, Naomi. The office
I-
supports
The
that.
the staff will send us the transcript.
Nice. Very nice.
Yeah, that helps.
Does anybody want to volunteer for this month? If not, we can start next, month, but
I'll volunteer,
yeah,
just because I want to dive in.
okay, thank you so much.
And then get it wrong and I can learn right away.
No, really
You
appreciate it.
just need to get it in the Friday before the general.
So.
Plenty of time.
Okay. Oh, yeah,
Oh,
okay, no,
bad.
it's okay.
Oh,
No.
yeah, all right.
Yeah, it's okay, yeah,
It's
okay.
it's written, yeah.
No, it's okay, I'll commit to doing this one, yeah, I forgot that we were,
We're short.
Moved, yeah. Okay. The other thing is, I like, kind of like a silly thing, but I am not good about sticking to the agenda order. I'm very like, okay, you're here, like, go ahead and speak or whatever, but does anybody have thoughts on like, when is the best time to engage the public? I know that whenever elected officials or their representatives join, we tend to give them priority, to present, but like, talking about, for me, like, I didn't want to talk about the SNAP resolution when we still had, presenters who were going to talk about new business, which was this HDFC bill. Does anybody have thoughts or feel strongly about that? No.
I get what you're saying, and I think like giving the elected representatives, priority, I think that should stay. And then maybe the public. And then we can discuss, and that's the way I see it, and then we can discuss to like new business, old business, so, and instead of them having to wait till the very end.
Mhm.
I don't know, that kind of makes sense to me, but this is my first year, so I don't know.
I'm thinking a little on the, I guess, opposite side. I think public should be able to speak and they should be able to listen to public. And then they should speak.
That
At
also
least
makes sense.
they take away what the public is saying and the concerns versus they come, they speak, they leave.
Mhm.
And then we have the public and we don't have the power.
Mhm.
They have the power.
Yeah, so that does make sense.
And maybe limit it, like we do at the general board, you have 2 minutes public.
Yeah.
State your concern or, whatever.
And maybe that's something we can be flexible about depending on, how many members of the public show up, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes it can be a little longer if, it's just one or two
If
people.
it's just one or two,
Yeah.
but if there's 10, then
2
Yeah.
minutes.
Right.
And honestly, I hope that we start to get 10 people, right? Like, that would be great. That would mean that we're doing our job, like reaching out and engaging folks, so.
no, we're on outreach
Mhm.
and we're trying to find ways to create more civic engagement. I think that maybe, I don't know, we have spoken about maybe creating, I don't know, if maybe a social type of platform
Mhm.
and putting the dates of these meetings
Yeah.
out and like that, more of the community can be aware, at least we know that they know. Because I don't think they're coming to our website to get this information. I mean, we're hoping to drive those numbers up. but maybe if we can post.
Okay, I will follow up. I do think that Kiana will, I think she's likely to look into that and can help us move forward. I also remember that we've got somebody who's volunteering to build us a new website, so hopefully that will, be easier to
Yeah.
navigate and maybe more engaging than our current website.
Yeah, and he's planning on,
doing a really good job.
yes, he's planning on showing that at the general board.
Oh,
meeting.
amazing. Okay. Great. The other thing I wanted to talk about is, do we have, I don't know this off the top of my head. Do you guys know if we meet in June?
What?
If we meet in
I
June, we
think
do,
meet in
right?
June
But we
and
don't meet in
July.
July.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Does anybody want to work on a theme invites for June?
I can.
No? Okay.
I'll run it by you, obviously.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, for me, my preference would be like CC everyone on the emails. Like, I really want to empower everyone to discuss and take the lead because, yeah, it's a little tough to do it, yeah. Okay, so that's for, May. Makes sense. But you're gonna think about what the topic is, right? Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I guess it would be best for me to find out, or for us to figure out what would be more pressing right before our summer holidays.
Yeah,
Maybe what organizations we can bring in or topics that are going on around that time.
yeah, definitely. Okay.
Or how about a summary of everything we've done throughout the year?
Yeah,
Because what I find is that we do things throughout the year, then we get the summer break, and then we come back in the fall and we kind of readdress the same topics.
I think that's a great segue. I agree with you. We met yesterday with Kiana, had like a one-on-one to talk about the committee. And one of the things that she put on our radar is, and she's doing this for all the committees, that we should create a list of organizations or like send a blast to all like relevant nonprofits in the area and invite them to come in October and November to talk about their budget needs, because by the time that we like get that information or whatever, the state budget is like very far along, the city budget, like we're not really
Impacted.
yeah, exactly. And so one of the things that I actually raised to her was I would encourage us to do that maybe in June, and like leading up into our September meeting and have them start coming in September, because last year we had to turn in our committee priorities in October, at the end of October. Kiana said that the city said that they would be like a little bit more flexible and could accept into November. But for me, I would say like, let's reach out to folks in advance and start hearing in September. And maybe part of that is in June, if we can get the list of contact information, we tell them like, we know that the city budget is not done yet. We know that maybe hopefully the state budget will be done, but we know the city budget is not done. Whatever it is that you're advocating for and you don't get, like, that should be the first thing that you come in and chat to us about, right? Like we can set up like appointments or whatever it is, or send us emails even, right? If you can't come, and let us know, like, how did your budget asks, how did your requests shake out?
I think that's great. To add to that, is there a way that we can, remember how we spoke about getting a survey of the empty housing, whether it's city owned, I'm guessing. Is there any way we can do that before before the fall?
It's a great question. We also talked about that. At this point, Jay and I have been following up with HPD since the end of October.
I know this.
And I have, since I think at least the end of February or March, looped in I think in March, looped in Kiana and Anthony. I followed up with them yesterday and got a very, very snippy response. So I'm going to back off and we're gonna let Kiana reach out to folks and, go from there. So the plan is to get an HPD 101 presentation and also, the way we're going to do that is that HPD does want to come and present to us about a development in Inwood on 9th Avenue. It's 40, I'll have to get the address for you guys in a second, but so the idea is when they come and present to us about that, we're going to have them also do the HPD 101. In our conversation with Kiana, I flagged that when we did submit our budget priorities, we had requested meetings with the agency so that we can get that kind of information. Like, okay, you said that this big pot of money for X initiative, some of it is being used here, but we want to know like how many organizations got it or how many units were fixed and get like more specific information. So I've relayed that to her too.
I think they're probably gonna just send you to a website.
I mean, even that would be better than nothing. Like if you, we got back like their responses and it's like, yes, HPD agrees that this is a priority and we're supporting your district.
Continue to support.
Exactly. So I highlighted that was like one of our requests, but I will make sure to like highlight the information, right? Like, and that they can send to us. They don't have to come and present in person. So maybe though on our end, what we need to do is identify like the specific requests that we have, right? We can starting with our budget.
How can I would like to help too in this process. How can I identify properties that are neglected that could be used towards housing, because we have like a housing crisis right now. So and I know that there's only like the building that you mentioned, it's been abandoned on 82nd.
Over 60 years.
And I mean, so it's like, and I understand if it's a private seller, if these are harder things that we would have to navigate. But I think identifying the properties that are just taking up space or bringing in rodents, how can we do that? I guess if we can do that, maybe they can navigate us onto how, and I can even work on it in downtime in the summer. And have maybe not a complete list, but an idea.
Okay, great. Yeah. I'm adding that to the list of questions. One thing that just came to mind whenever you were talking is the previous Manhattan Borough president, he put out
I was just Googling that.
Yeah.
I thought he put,
it's
he did like a report that sort of like
Yeah.
pointed to everywhere in Manhattan, like these are vacant lots. Yeah.
So it was under Mark Levine when he was doing it. I think it's called that's not the Manhattan plan, but I can, if you just Google like comptroller or no, borough president at that point, Mark Levine, and it's like a Manhattan housing plan. And so they went and looked at properties. I think some of them were like on city land, some of them were private. So it's kind of like a hybrid. And that may be a good place to start. Okay. Else. The other thing that we talked about is we are going to reach out to all the elected officials that represent this area, and they don't have the capacity to come every month. Fine. So the idea is to identify upfront, can you come in September so that you can talk about this? Can you come in hypothetically March to talk about the city budget or state budget? Can you come this other month to tell us how the budget ended up? And then we invite you any other time to come and talk to us about legislation, about any events that you've got going on, but kind of upfront request specific months that they come. So we don't have to hash it out now, but I think that it may be helpful to hear from both the city and the state, maybe in September when we first get started or in October. And then I open it up to you guys on when would the other like best times be? I imagine like one around the budget. Do you have a sense, maybe like when would be the best time to hear from our state representatives about the budget? When in the timeline?
Either
Or I
February,
mean, I open it up to anyone,
yeah,
but,
February or March. Or
Okay.
usually, yeah.
and is that like, do you think at that point it's too late for us to tell them our priorities? Or, I mean, and it doesn't have to be like, we could send it in a reso or in an email or whatever, but
And it's not too late by February, but March is too late.
okay.
I think maybe then January. Like, have them come in September, we can,
Well, the problem is that the governor doesn't release their budget until the end of January.
Okay. And if we still meet the first of the month, that may be a little tricky, but, okay, so,
So they'll have like nothing.
so February would be ideally state budget. And then
I would like to
September.
hear from the city.
In February as well, or,
No, when
They-
they release, when the mayor
Yeah.
releases it, or when the council releases their proposal.
Yeah.
They just released theirs.
I think like in April, maybe then, to hear from the
Yeah.
council,
Oh,
they'll
you
have
know what
had
they
all this.
released.
They'll have had like their preliminary budget hearings in March, or we could hear in March, but I mean, I feel like in April, they'll have had all of their preliminary budget hearings, and then they should be like preparing that report. So February state budget, April city budget, and the reason that I'm doing this now is because Kiana is amazing. And she literally is like, what do you guys need? What do you want? And so I want to like, we met with her yesterday, like tomorrow, I want to give her this information and just like get, like take advantage that she's got like.
and I'm sure some of the little things might change around.
Definitely.
You know?
And so then we've got like hypothetically or in theory, one more budget or one more meeting to invite the state and city folks to. So should we invite like,
Did we ever invite the mayor? I've never seen the
I
mayor.
don't think so.
They would probably go to a general board meeting and then a
Yeah.
committee meeting.
I think in theory, like when we hear from the city agencies, that's kind of
They're
like a.
representing.
uh-huh.
Yeah.
But
So,
there is a new housing department that he just created.
mhm,
Maybe getting her in is not a bad idea.
okay, yeah. C Weaver, I think is her name, right? The tenant.
I just.
Yeah. And I mean, she may not have the time to come, but somebody, a staffer, yeah, no, it's a good idea. It's a good idea. Okay, so then how about we invite them, the state back in June to tell us what happened? And maybe also the city at that point, like their budget won't be done, but if we're not meeting in July, then we might as well hear where things are. Yeah, okay.
And for this upcoming meeting in May, we could probably ask Joanna about, assuming the state budget passes. Then we can ask her about how that went down.
Yes. Just. Budget update. Okay, the other thing that I talked to her about was, how to engage NYCHA. And so she's going to connect us with one of the, like tenant association heads at NYCHA. And the other, like, we talked a lot about, okay, what does the city have the authority to do? Because NYCHA is like primarily federal funding. She mentioned that in the past, like some of the advocacy points have been cameras. That the council member De La Rosa also had allocated some funding for a playground at one of the NYCHA developments, and that there's been kind of like a dragging of the feet. So that may be an opportunity for us to follow up. And so it's something that we can reach out to her office and see, like, is this something that like a reso would be helpful for, or just engaging them a little bit on like, what are they working on with NYCHA and also Councilmember Abreu to see if there's a way that we can engage with them. The other big issue is the RAD program, where they're taking some NYCHA public housing and they're converting it. I think it goes from like folks who have Section 8 housing to Section 9, I believe. But yeah, exactly. And so I tried to, I think that that's something, if there's interest in the committee, that we can try and invite either advocates or some of the folks who are in the transition. The sense that I got from her is that like some folks really like the transition and some don't. And it's not, she hasn't like spotted any trends. But that she said Dyckman Houses is currently like either about to kick off that conversation or having that conversation. Is there interest in that? I think my only flag, like I'm interested, I want to help however I can. My only flag is like realistically, what can we do, right? I don't know, I don't know anything really about NYCHA. Does anybody here have experience with engaging NYCHA or anything like that? Do you? Marshall, any thoughts?
Let me jump in here for a second on this, because see, as I've seen things over time, they're trying to move the residents out of 9 to 8. But the problem with that, okay, because there's the Section 8 vouchers, but the problem with that is when you moved from Section 9 to Section 8, see, Section 9 has statutory provisions as far as giving the tenants rights as far as how things are going to be done. And when you move to Section 8, then those rights are destroyed. Okay. And my notion, at least in Dyckman, because I haven't spoken with the board here lately, is that we object to any movement from Section 9 to Section 8. Okay, because once you because the movement from Section 9 to Section 8 destroys resident associations. Okay, and we would have no say, and arguably then that starts the movement towards trying to they're already trying to privatize many of the developments. That opens up the door to privatizing Dyckman and creating a situation where people will have to be forced out of their homes. Okay, so off the top, I would have to sit down and maybe scull it out a little better, but off the top, no, that's not something that Dyckman Houses is in favor of. I'm not in favor of it. I believe the board would not be in favor of it, and it would be a disservice to the residents of Dyckman Houses.
Thank you so much for that insight. Do you think you could connect us? Like, would you be open to inviting somebody to come and speak to one of our meetings? Or if you want to just like put someone on a radar?
Well, I could speak to the president and see what his thoughts are. I'm not sure. I can't speak for him to. But I'll speak with him and see what he has to say.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Who is that?
That's a question.
Sorry.
It's okay. You guys can I can jump in later.
No, just get over it. What is the name of the president, Marshall?
Nathaniel Green.
Okay, thank you so much. Good.
Hey guys. Okay, so basically my real reason for being here because I'm trying to write a feature story on actually NYCHA, so this is really great. My feature story is basically about how I don't know if you guys know this, but they recently did their most recent renovation in Washington Heights is the one in 155th Street, 1970. And that renovation was so rushed that, for about 4 months, the elevators weren't working. And actually, there are at least what I know are 5 wheelchair users in that building. Also, the AC wasn't available the entire summer. And the heating was lost during the winter storm and months after.
And that is while they were renovating or
Not while, after they renovated.
after the renovation?
So the problem is the renovation was so rushed that the building itself wasn't ready for public occupation. And while these residents were living in these places, there was no AC, there was no heat. And while they were given temporary, AC and heating, again, these residents don't. So they weren't really educated on where to pick up these equipment. Or again, so many of these residents are disabled that they don't have the time to pick up, they don't have the energy to pick up this equipment. And also when an elevator is unavailable, how can you go and pick up the equipment? But also a lot of NYCHA buildings in Washington Heights were recently under, not a lot, but like there was 1 or 2 which recently caused a rot problem and where private households were having to pay the fine for NYCHA's rat problem, which is really interesting. But basically I'm trying to write a feature story and get it featured in the Harlem View about it. So my reason for coming here, because you are the housing committee is what I'm hearing. I was wondering if you could like introduce yourself and tell me your name, your age, your occupation, and what your guys' primary stance on NYCHA is and or your primary goals for this fiscal year.
Sure.
I do have a question before.
Yeah, go
we
ahead,
get into
yeah.
that, because I know we have some guidelines around press
Yeah.
interaction that I think Anthony is
Yeah.
strict about, so I just want to flag that in case we do need to go through our executive committee. I'm not sure.
I was gonna say, so, I'm happy to give you my name and give you my contact information. And then I was, if we get the green light, then I can like loop in other folks. But I'm happy to give you like my information so that we can stay in touch. What is the timeline for your piece?
So the reason that I'm not actually abided by press guidelines is because I'm a student journalist. So those kind of change the tides a little bit. I think it gives you guys more flexibility, but I'm still open if you guys want to flag that, totally fine.
Okay.
But the piece isn't technically, again, like not a feature story in the sense of like, it doesn't go to a newsroom, it goes
Yeah.
to CCNY City College's Harlem View. So it's a student-led thing, but technically my piece is due during the end of April, but my draft is due by next Thursday.
Okay, so I'm gonna give you my contact information. And actually, I'm not gonna give it to you on a business card for conflict of interest reasons. And so then that way you can email me. And what I request is like, can you do a little description exactly like what you just told us? And then I can forward it to our chair and I can put the information. But thank you so much for joining. We really appreciate that. And we hope that you'll come back and bring your friends.
9 more.
Yeah. Okay,
Well, that's a really interesting story.
yes.
Appreciate someone's coming.
And I really appreciate the wheelchair and elevator angle. Thank you so much. Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Were you at Brad's event? I see the tote.
Oh my God, I was. I was at the committee general meeting board last month.
Got it. Okay. Nice.
Okay. All right, I think that is everything on my list. Oh, okay, sorry, last thing. One of the issues that she said that we could like really play an important role in is City FEPS. It is like a voucher program. I really don't know much about that. So I asked her to let us know like which organizations she would recommend and we invite to speak to us about that.
City what, I'm sorry?
City
FEPS. It's FHEPS. And basically what she said is like, whenever the city was passing the City of Yes, which was a major revision of the city's zoning code, the city council had negotiated funding through like a sort of like, we're not going to pass this unless you give us some funding for our priorities. And one of the issues that the council had prioritized for funding was City FEPS vouchers, and that right now, like, I think that they're either not getting the money or there was some shift in like whatever their agreement was. I really don't know, but I will try and get somebody to come in and speak to us, but if anybody has connections, I just am throwing it out there because I don't know really who to really reach out to. As far as advocates that like may be able to speak to that. So just throwing it out there. in case folks brainstorm.
I'm looking in the recommend somebody else.
Okay. And then the final thing is she mentioned affordability standards and we've talked, thank you for coming. Thank you.
Thanks
She
so much.
talked about you know, like we talked about AMI, we've had that conversation at multiple meetings and how it doesn't accurately like reflect what most people's median income is in our district. So I actually was trying to do a little bit of research about that. And I found a piece that was just published by some attorneys at the New York City Bar Association. And I don't know, like one of the things that they talked about was that we need to like reassess how that is calculated. So I wanted to see if there was interest in trying to get one of the people from that committee to come in and speak to us. They may not, I don't know if they've got permission to do that or not, it may be in their personal capacity, but I wanted to ask if that was something that was of interest to the committee. And if so, then I'll reach out to them and move ahead. Yeah, okay. All right, anything else that folks want to talk about before we hit our last issue on the agenda, which is the SNAP resolution? Okay, all right, so I'm going to try and pull up the SNAP resolution. I am going to pull this up. The caveat that I have is this. I worked on it. It is in a draft form, but we will be able to vote on it tonight. Right now, as it stands, it calls on New York State officials to engage. If somebody would like to include other elected officials at other levels of government, I'm happy to include that, and then I just won't vote on it.
Okay.
Oops. Actually, while I'm pulling this up, can you guys who are on the outreach committee tell us a little bit like what you guys have done or what might be coming up?
Yeah.
Okay.
I missed the last meeting.
Sure, so yeah.
I missed every meeting.
It's
not regularly-
I'm very good about,
It's not regularly scheduled,
Right.
and I find out through email after the
Yeah,
fact that
no,
we
me
get
too.
in.
Yeah,
yeah, Ty's very good about taking minutes, so there's that. But yeah, so we're working on essentially an assessment and a plan for how it is that we as a board overall can improve our engagement and outreach to members of the community. So right now we're in early stages, but we're taking on different streams of communication that the board has access to, like social media, website, and trying to be intentional about suggesting recommendations that can be taken on by the board in years going forward. One thing that we're working on actively, which is work that I'm leading currently, is on a survey to the community that would ask them about how it is that they get informed about events that are going on, how informed are they about the community board, what do they want to hear about, how would they like to get involved, or what barriers are there to involvement. And that's something that we're currently drafting and we'll put forward to the executive committee and inform the board as a whole before that goes out. But yeah, once we do that and everyone takes on their individual sort of like channels or streams to assess, then we'll prepare a report that should be ready by the fall.
okay, great. And then I saw that you went to like the mine event or something like that.
George Washington. It was good. It was good turnout. A lot of students, not as much parents, but we were able to get like people to sign up to the newsletter, so that's good. So, trying to drive more people. And part of my channel is communication with elected officials and nonprofits, organizations, to try to expand our outreach. hopefully they can add us, let's say, to their newsletters, and this way we can get more traffic.
And are there any events coming up?
Not that I've heard of. There is one that I've flagged to Anthony, but I haven't heard back. And it was a cleanup event. It's happening in April, so I think it's happening very soon. But I got invited. It's being hosted by, I think Carmen De La Rosa is also involved. I think she's sponsoring it. But it's being done by Uptown
Up on the wagon?
Uptown Project,
Oh, okay.
I think, something like that.
Oh, is it Uptown People's Project?
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about?
Thank you. Yes, they're having the event. I got invited, so I'm gonna attend regardless.
Yeah.
Cleanup
it's
has been
not-
something that I've been trying to push that
You don't have
initiative
this
for a
one,
very long
I
time.
agree.
Yeah.
Even with the snowstorm, I was speaking to a friend yesterday, and it's like during that time, I have two dogs and I had to walk around. I have bags, but I started cleaning up other people's dog stuff because it's like it got out of control.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I'm passionate about it. Not that I want to clean,
Right.
but I'm definitely gonna join that event if I'm available that day. And
Yeah,
maybe we
yeah,
can just.
I would love to. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So the way they're setting it up, they're doing like different sections.
Hmm.
I'm thinking of taking 181st to 191st.
What is the sections?
Sorry, I think it's like 10 block sections as far as distributing bags and helping like the crew. It's gonna
Okay.
be like divided in like 10 block sections, I think.
And when is that?
I don't have, I'll get the.
Yeah, please. I need to like
I can get this now.
plug in.
That's next. So it's May 2nd from 11 to 1. It's on a Saturday.
That's
And
great.
which group is doing that?
Uptown People's Project.
Thank you. Okay, so I admit the title is terrible, so I'm open to suggestions. It's very, very straightforward, and I've got some for the XYZ, some language to run by you guys. But basically it just goes through and talks about how in July of last year, the federal bill HR 1 was passed, and among many terrible things that it did, it changed, well, it cut support for states for the SNAP program, which is food assistance. And it also establishes the new eligibility rules that require recipients to work, to volunteer, or enroll in skills training in order to receive benefits. It is followed by some of the statistics of who we think will be impacted in New York. Yeah, 300,000 families, I believe I need to verify that, will be impacted at the state level. And one of the things that I wanted to chat with you guys about is there seems to be like a little bit of a gray area between how many households they think are going to be completely cut out and how many will have their benefits reduced. So I just kind of went the more clear route I picked like the smaller number of the two, and I said it will either be cut or reduced. If anybody has like more concrete information, I welcome that. Let me know. For New York City, the number is 1.8 million people will be impacted, roughly a third of households in the city. And what I wanted to chat with you guys about is kind of along the same lines as before. If we're calling on the state only, then I'm happy to help. I put in a section calling on or like referencing some of the public advocates advocacy, which he has highlighted that not only are the families going to be impacted, but also like their community grocery stores where they go in and spend the SNAP funds, and like the report that I cited or that I saw said between like 20% to 50% of certain local grocers get their sales from SNAP dollars. So, you know, it's a huge hit to our local grocers, which are already facing really high competition from Targets and some of the other national grocery chains. Is anyone interested or aware of what the council might be doing on this, or I'm calling on the council to do something? I'm happy to add some of that language here. If not,
I
we
think
can.
it's in their capacity, right? To address this, to.
So the state and the city council would, like, they're able to allocate funding to it. They're not able to change like who's eligible and who isn't. But they can fund emergency food, pantries, they can fund, or, like basically create supplemental programs that can run parallel to SNAP. So I'm happy to.
I feel that we should
Add that.
include this.
Okay. So I will add a little bit of language, but since I can't draft it, I welcome your feedback and your language there.
Well, you can't vote.
Well, yeah,
Either, right? Is it either that you can't?
I don't know, so I'm trying to be very careful.
Sure.
I think you could write it, you just can't take an official vote on it.
Okay, so how about whereas the
Well, the government will be here too.
I
To
See,
support
like,
and
the-
supplement.
These budgets are a representation of what they wanna set their priorities on.
Right, right.
Yep. All right, so
Right, let's say that, right.
okay. It's very sensitive. Okay. So we're calling for both the state and the city to allocate funding to support the community-based organizations.
Can we put in any means that may supplement?
Yes, so the thing is, like, the reason I put community-based organizations is because they wouldn't like
Give it to it,
directly
yeah.
help. It's usually like, I think, right, or it would go through like city agencies maybe, but oftentimes it goes through like a nonprofit. If it's like
Right.
food is like pantries and things like that. If it's a supplemental program, I guess it would go through some of the city
It goes-
agencies. and the
yeah.
state agencies.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so funding to support, how about then?
It's more of basically the way the SNAP works is federal money that's given to the state. And then the state sort of divvy it to the localities, and the localities have to make a percentage of it. Like administrative costs. And that's one of the costs to the state, where they're changing how much the feds are actually contributing. Increasing the cost to the state.
So if you want to get funding to support and workers. Government agencies. Community-based organizations. Already said support, but. How's that? I like. I welcome your edits, Any other calls? to Action for the mayor and the governor, I guess. Go ahead.
Okay, can you go up a little bit?
Yes.
Sorry.
Here's the title too, that I welcome you up with.
We shorten.
Yep. I welcome your thoughts on that.
Those impacted? Or you have lost or risk losing?
Those impacted by, sorry, what is the suggestion? Resolution
Instead of
calling on,
those who have lost, just those impacted.
okay. By changes to SNAP,
By HR? Yeah.
okay. I.
Trying to speak shitty, but
I don't know where I was calling a federal agency and it was the automation going on and they continued to refer to the big beautiful bill. And I'm like, I cannot believe I have to sit and listen to that
Right.
over and over again.
Jesus Christ. Like that they actually handled that.
All right, we said also calling on the governor and the mayor. Is there a different ask, or should we just say New York State and city government instead of legislatures? Or
Shouldn't
officials,
it be all the
elected officials, yeah, New York
Elected.
State
yeah,
and city
elected.
elected officials. Nice.
Pass a budget. That's supporting.
Okay, I'm going to. Okay. Should pass a budget that allocates funding.
That's like, that, yeah, that's more detailed.
Or maybe just allocate funding, because maybe they can
Yeah, maybe
reappropriate
they don't have
funds
to, yeah, exactly, they don't have.
that are already,
For affected New Yorkers, affecting government agencies and community-based organizations that can provide much needed assistance. Okay. Anything else? One of the things that I talked about, and I'll have to pull up the language, was the programmatic piece, getting the city and state agencies to identify volunteer opportunities that meet the, like, training and volunteer opportunities that meet the requirements. I was really interested, like this one about the public advocate and the local grocers is kind of like random, like kind of like thrown in there. I don't know if anybody like wants me to move it, I'm happy to do that. But if not, then it will conclude by, like we have to say here on the state, like our committee met to discuss the growing need for nutritional support in our community. And then now let it be resolved. And I will put the reference to all of our local elected officials. And then we can vote and be done. But is there anything else that folks want to highlight in this? Okay, if not, I think that we can vote on it, and if there's like a friendly amendment afterwards, then email me and let me know.
I think that training component is important.
Mhm.
Because I think the recipients are being left in limbo, like, where do I go to volunteer?
Mhm.
So I think that should be a whereas.
Yeah. So
I actually don't know what the city doing,
whereas.
because I think those work requirements start March 1st.
Mhm. Whereas.
So they started
They're
already.
already started.
And have they provided those?
From my understanding, they've been working on how to do that, right? Like, and city being city will find the loopholes to what HR one did, right?
Whereas SNAP recipients at risk of losing. Not recipients. It's losing benefits due to secure qualifying employment, volunteer, or training opportunities.
To comply with, what is it, 33 hours, 30 hours? Is it 30?
I think it's 40 per month.
Yeah, I think it might be 40.
40.
Is that right?
40?
Or was it 80? It's 80.
Yeah.
80. It's 80 per month. Yeah,
With that going for.
20 a week.
right, on average, yeah.
Yeah, fine, 20 hours.
It's part-time. It's like literally part-time.
I go to the church and sit there. Okay.
You could guard, you could go to a community garden.
Guards.
Okay, it's not even, that's not even a bad joke, but he's doing with the Pope right now, when he's
Yeah.
going to this.
One of their church volunteer is the two. As part of those.
In order to meet, I'm just gonna say work requirements, need assistance finding such opportunities.
Like the word, 2 hours, 2 hours, 2 hours a week, no. It's 20 hours.
So it's 4 hours a day,
Maybe the 5 days.
when you do 5 days. Go 4 hours, I don't know, you clean a bathroom.
Yeah.
You should church.
You can volunteer, you can volunteer, I don't know. Community garden.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
Okay.
Clean up park or something.
Actually, I'm tempted to move this like New York State and city officials to like our resolved, like what we're asking them to do. All right,
Oh, yeah, I see. I think that makes sense.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
You do community cleanups. You just create one massive organization and then have everyone who's impacted into this one.
Here you go.
It's like, yeah, we do citywide cleanups and we just have all these people clean up around their neighborhood for 2 or 3 hours a day. Go back home.
Go to High Bridge.
Just boom.
There you
Go
go.
some trash.
So therefore be it resolved that community board 12.
Incense to us. There's a bill at the state level that's trying to do a sort of like a similar program for the same population.
Do you know who's sponsoring it?
Yeah, Assembly member Jessica Gonzalez Ross.
Okay.
Hmm.
I'm going then to add a resolved line and just leave, like, we'll just do like a friendly amendment to confirm it if we need to change it. So, okay. All right, so, oops. Okay. Okay, so the first resolve that Community Board 12 Manhattan urges the New York State and City urges New York State and city elected officials to allocate funding to support impacted New Yorkers by funding government agencies and community.
Maybe to allocate funding to government agencies and community-based organizations. Yeah.
Government agencies and community-based organizations that can provide the much needed assistance, and be it further resolved that they need to identify or create these
Training
opportunities.
opportunities.
Yeah.
Or work opportunities.
Opportunities that satisfy the, eligibility requirements to receive SNAP benefits.
Some.
You plotting?
Keep the comment. Oh, camera. Let's say something about you.
Wait, what is, yeah, I wanna hear about that. Okay. Wait. Okay. I was trying to copy and paste and because I have a Mac, I've been pushing the wrong buttons.
Control.
Yeah. I kept pushing Alt. Okay. Further. Pause.
Calling out congressional reps to reverse what they did.
Yeah.
No, so we'll say.
Yeah.
What this?
You can already tee that one up. for-
Take back the houses. That's-
Exactly, we should tee that one up for our November meeting.
We should write it.
I think just create and provide. Because someone who created lists and never disseminated.
Okay. So how about to create and publicize? Because we were like, we want them to create the opportunity and publicize it. Does that work?
As long as it gets, there's a part about disseminating it.
Yeah, okay. Create, publicize, and, okay, let me touch that in a second. Elected officials to create and publicize opportunities to satisfy the eligibility requirements to receive SNAP benefits. And ensures that just it CB12 receive
I don't think we need that.
no just
It would help
SNAP benefits.
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna leave it there. We can vote on it, and then if there are any friendly amendments, we can. Governor, Senate, Assembly, Mayor, Council.
The Marshall.
Okay.
Well, we have quorum votes, right?
How many members are in this committee?
So 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
So
We lost our other folks. Yeah, we were gonna have Domingo, but he resigned. Because of like a conflict of interest kind of thing. And then there was one other individual, and I think he hasn't joined the meeting or joined like any of our meetings, and so
Yeah.
they've reached out to him and
Does that be the one that you? Exactly, mentioned.
In May is when we get new. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
okay, so thank you everybody for your contributions. I'm just gonna read,
Thank you for your initiative.
oh my gosh, it's super short. I'm gonna,
No,
Sorry,
it's
but-
fine.
okay.
You have all the legal terms.
So, I'm just gonna read it once through and then we vote and then we're done. So, resolution calling on New York's elected officials to support those impacted by changes to SNAP eligibility enacted by HR 1. April 16th, 2026. Whereas in July 2025, President Donald Trump signed HR 1 into law, which, among other things, significantly cut federal support to states for the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, hereinafter SNAP, and whereas HR 1 established new eligibility rules which require that more SNAP recipients work, volunteer, or enroll in skills training in order to receive their benefits. And whereas, according to the New York State Office of Temporary and Disability Assistance, of the 3 million households that receive SNAP benefits in New York, State, more than 300,000 families will see a reduction in monthly benefits or lose eligibility altogether. And whereas in New York City, 1.8 million people receive SNAP benefits, representing roughly 1/3 of households in the city. And whereas due to the drastic cuts enacted through HR1, roughly 180,000 New York City residents are expected to lose eligibility to receive SNAP benefits or face a significant reduction in their monthly allocation. And whereas SNAP recipients at risk of losing benefits due to their inability to secure qualifying employment, volunteer, or training opportunities in order to meet work requirements.
That's not the only
Yeah,
change.
to secure, hold on.
They,
Maybe we can
Recipients
remove
at
the,
risk of losing benefits due to their inability to secure qualifying employment, volunteer, or training opportunities that meet HR1 requirements.
so I think because it already says qualifying,
Okay,
I don't think we need in order to meet work requirements.
Just to be.
okay. So training opportunities to meet work requirements? Okay,
Well,
okay, and then, whereas New York City Public Advocate Jumaane Williams, this is like the random one, but I thought it was important. And whereas New York.
try and move it more up, that's one.
Okay. Or something about like downstream effects, like
just-
whereas New York City Public Advocate Giovanni.
Can I make a
Yep.
sort of friendly change to
Mhm.
this, since
Yes.
about the Jimani one, right?
Mhm.
There's two things happening on this. There's people who lose automatically eligibility just because of their status. Now, basically, immigrants are no longer allowed to get it. So they've been cut off. I think, and that starts next year, January 1st, I can't remember. But that's another change that I've heard.
Okay,
And then I feel like you can shorten this. Just start by saying like SNAP recipients are at risk losing benefits due to work requirements.
okay. I kind of want to push back a little bit on that because I want to at some point highlight the like employment, volunteer, and training opportunities. So about qualifying employment. I'm gonna reject that.
Due to work requirements such as.
Okay, so, but you're saying there's one more, whereas it impacts immigrants specifically,
Yeah, they.
mixed status families, right? Or
Yeah.
just, okay. So I'm gonna highlight that for a second and finish the one before. So whereas SNAP recipients are at risk of losing benefits due to their inability to secure qualifying employment, volunteer, or training opportunities, maybe need assistance identifying such or opportunities. All right, that meet work requirements, need assistance identifying such opportunities. Okay, I can tweak that later. Okay, so whereas immigrant SNAP recipients or mixed status households.
Is the mixed households that are gonna lose, I believe.
You could just say, SNAP recipients who will be losing their benefits due to their immigration status.
Okay, whereas SNAP recipients. Okay. SNAP recipients who are immigrants.
We're all immigrants.
Yeah, I'm gonna say whereas. Immigrant and mixed status households. That receive. And it's it's for sure that they will. It's for sure that they're gonna lose.
Oh, yeah, for sure. He changed it to like it's only citizens and green card holders. So like if you're an asylum seeker or refugee, now you don't have access to this anymore.
And so you can mix.
Yeah, there's like a very short list of people who now qualify based on status.
Okay, so whereas many immigrant and mixed status households will lose eligibility to receive SNAP benefits in the coming months. Or will soon, I'll just say will soon lose eligibility.
Well, we don't even know if they started.
Okay, so I'll just say will not be eligible. That's big enough. Households will not be eligible to receive SNAP benefits.
Says enhanced work requirements and tighter eligibility rules for adults began immediately. When this was passed.
I thought it was, yeah,
That
and then we got like
doesn't-
an extension or an extension till March, right?
Is that right?
Okay, so many immigrant and mixed status households will not be eligible to receive SNAP. Just that? Or will lose eligibility.
Are losing.
Oh, so you changed it?
Put it back. What?
Control Z.
That's what I was doing. Okay. Okay.
Well, that's why I was just saying just to put
To put it together. Here,
eligibility due to immigration status.
okay,
Because the mixed status household, it still applies when you put immigration status. For the mixed households, it means that if an adult is the immigrant,
so you're saying,
they don't get it, but if their child is a citizen, they can still, they get the child, because the child is a citizen, they can still get SNAP.
okay, so then you want to say SNAP, whereas SNAP recipients who are immigrants or in mixed status households.
What are you saying? You don't need
Just-
to put the mixed up.
Oh, so just where it is, okay, whereas. Immigrant SNAP recipients
Are losing
will lose, yeah,
benefits due to their immigration status.
yep, got it. Okay, whereas immigrant. SNAP recipient. I hate this computer. Okay, whereas
Really bad at
immigrant
that.
SNAP recipients will lose. SNAP eligibility. Or will lose SNAP benefits due to their. Immigration status. I'm gonna say depending on their immigration status. Okay. And. Whereas the impact. The. Cuts to SNAP. Extend. Beyond those who receive the benefit. And.
Or like community impacts.
Okay, so yeah, got it. Whereas the impacts. I'm gonna do this, we're gonna vote on, and then we can just do friendly amendments afterward.
Yeah.
So the impact of the cuts to SNAP benefits. Extend beyond those who, no, sorry. All right, extend beyond those who receive the benefit, and I'm gonna tweak the New York City Public Advocate. warns that the cuts to SNAP benefits will have a domino effect that negatively impact the city's small business economy.
I would remove the word small because they could use SNAP at Target,
Okay,
BJ's.
yeah,
Yeah, but I think, I don't remember the numbers, but I think it's the like above 90%, where small businesses make up like 98% of community businesses. Like, in reality, if you look at
As the
the
supermarket is.
there's the bodegas, there's, yeah.
Almost.
Well, I think either way, because this is a quote from the advocate, we shouldn't
Yeah,
misrepresent what he
sure.
said.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
But point taken, I think it's gonna affect the whole economy.
All right, so then,
Did you take out the training piece?
No, it's,
No.
oh, no.
right there.
Okay.
And then, so then whereas on April 16th, 2026, the Housing and Human Services Committee met to discuss the growing need for nutritional support and qualifying employment and training opportunities. Or no?
Mhm.
Oh, no, I guess we have that in the
We
second.
already have
Okay,
it.
nutritional support in our community now, therefore be it resolved that Community Board 12 Manhattan urges New York State and city elected officials to allocate funding to government agencies and community-based organizations that can provide SNAP recipients provide much needed assistance, and be it further resolved that Community Board 12 Manhattan further calls upon New York State and city elected officials to create and publicize opportunities that satisfy the employment, volunteer, training requirements
So you see
that
it.
satisfy the new SNAP regulations. Okay. Would somebody like to call a vote and second? Satisfying.
You're satisfied twice there, but
Is-
maybe we can solve that
That's the end.
as a friendly
Okay.
amendment. Sure.
Besides opportunities that meet the employment, volunteer, and training requirements of. Okay,
I think it can end there after training requirements.
okay,
Yeah,
all right. Anybody want to?
I'll move to vote, to call a vote from this.
Second,
Do you want me to do the roll call or are you gonna do this one?
you guys go ahead.
Is it a conflict if it's to the entire?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Yeah.
Like, are you gonna vote?
I feel like it's fine because it's not like targeted at my boss. Particularly.
But Andy, you work for like central staff?
Mhm.
Mm.
Okay. So we
You
have.
tell me what to do, you don't tell your boss.
All right. So we have, somebody moved to vote, we have a second, so. City members who vote aye in support of the resolution and advancing it to the full community board,
Yes, in favor.
are you voting?
I vote yes, so I was gonna go down the list, so Chair, you're.
I'm abstaining, yeah,
Okay.
or I'm
Conflict,
conflict,
you're
yeah,
conflict.
exactly.
Jay?
Well, I have to vote.
No, but do you have a conflict?
If she has a conflict, I have a conflict. That's the thing, that's why I was asking her if it matters.
Can we do a tentative vote?
Let's do this, cause we don't even
Yeah.
know, do you need to have a court, like?
I mean, if we're,
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So
We're
then
fine,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
majority.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
yeah, so conflict due to our station. You're supposed to say it.
oh, okay, I have a conflict of interest because I work for city council.
What state senator do you work for, Jen?
Gustavo Rivera.
Oh, very nice.
Bronx. Very nice.
What section is he in?
Northwest Bronx. He now has Riverdale on the last news and basically the Fordham area, Grand Concourse.
Thank you all very much.
there for some reason.
Riverdale.
Okay, so the vote passes. We'll be sending this along to the executive committee, just putting it on their radar, and then to the general board to vote. If there are any other friendly amendments.
Was considered friendly.
I don't know, we'll know. It's one of those things you'll know when you know. Thank you so much. Is there a motion to adjourn? Is there a second?
Wait, before we adjourn, where do what box am I in?
I can't see him. That's why I was asking.
Sorry, no, yeah, I didn't see you signed on.
Hold on. Stop.
So wait, is he gonna vote?
Well, you're muted.
Are we voting or has the vote been taken?
No, we did, but we can certainly take your vote. I have not yet,
The friendly amendment.
I have not yet called the meeting, so how do you vote?
I vote for the resolution.
Perfect, thank you so much. I'm sorry about that. I didn't see you in this screen for some reason. Okay, so with that, we have 3 committee members who vote in the affirmative, 1 public member who votes in the affirmative. The resolution passes. We'll present it at community board. We have Sonia who moved to adjourn. Who second?
I second it.
Okay, Sonia and Jay.
Aye.
Great. 9:16, we're calling this meeting. Thank you so much.
Feels like a budget meeting.
Yes, I really appreciate everyone's.
I'm jealous you're already home.
Yeah. All right,
Oh.
thank you.
Indiana,
Yes,
could you forward me your phone number so when I speak to?
yes. Can I give it to you right now?
Sure, let me just get a.
It's recording.
Okay, never mind. It's recording, so I'm gonna email it to you.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
Stop the recording and then.
All right,
All right,
guys, have
bye.
a great night.
Have a great night.
I'm actually